Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jazmin. If you have no idea who I am a first generation low income undergraduate at Stanford University, and I made this channel to help other first generation low income students get better access to higher education through my college related videos. For today's video, I'm going to be reading my personal statement. So this has been a highly requested video because a lot of students right now are writing their essays and they have no idea what to write about, and they need ideas, they need inspiration, motivation. So this is what I submitted for my Common App application to all of my private universities. So personal statements are for private universities. I will not be reading my personal insight questions, which is for the UC application, which is for prompts of 350 words each. This essay is 650 words that I submitted for my applications to my private universities. So for the Common App, they give you 7 prompts to choose from, all of which are really open-ended and allow you to really explain your story however you like. And the prompt that I chose was reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking and what was the outcome? So I believe that this prompt fit my essay topic the best, and the way that I approached this essay writing was that I came up with the topic of my essay first, and then I chose the prompt that best fit with the essay topic that I wanted to write about. Now that's kind of reversed. A lot of students do look at the prompts first for inspiration or like motivation to write these essays, and then they write the actual essay, but I did it the other way around. I don't think it matters, but this is just how I approached my essay writing. Now I will note that I will not be reading my personal statement word for word because I just don't want my stuff to be plagiarized, and I don't think my stuff is super amazing enough to be plagiarized anyways. But I'm very much aware of the possibility of plagiarism, and I just don't want to put myself in that situation. So I will most likely just be paraphrasing my personal statement and talking about what strategies I use to best communicate to my reader what I wanted to talk about. So I will be reading a couple parts of my essay, but I won't read the entire thing word for word, and I will read the introduction. So the way that I introduced my essay was setting up a really intense scene to introduce the topic of my essay. And I wrote, "Sweat erupted from the pores on my forehead and found its way into my eyes, blinding me just as much as the glaring sun above me. It was 110 degrees at the time, and it felt as if the devil himself jumped on me for a piggyback. The boxes that we lifted onto the truck weighed twice as much as I had. I was 9 years old." So, like I said, this is when I set up a really intense scene for context of my essay topic. And basically what my essay topic speaks on is physical labor versus mental labor, and mental labor in terms of education versus like actual physical work. I decided to open my essay this way because I thought that setting up a very intense scene or image in my reader's head would really captivate their attention. A lot of different essays started off differently, but this is the approach that I took. So going on to the second paragraph, or the first main body paragraph, the first sentence is me stating that my parents are immigrants. So that communicates that I'm first generation American. Later on, I also clarified that I am a first generation college student, but I only use one sentence to communicate that my parents are immigrants. And I know that it's very difficult, especially for first generation Americans, if you are going to be talking about your immigrant parents. A lot of students get very emotional about it, and they get carried away with talking too much about their parents. And your personal statement is really your personal statement. It's about you and it's about your story. So try not to focus too much on your parents' story about how they immigrated to America or what that felt like for them being introduced to an entire new country. That is not really your story. So I advise that if you will be talking or mentioning your parents, to not let it take up too much space on your essay, because you only have 650 words to talk about yourself, and the reader wants to know more about you than they want to know about your parents. Of course, like I said, I thought that mentioning my parents are immigrants was very important to my essay, so I did include it, but I didn't let it take too much space on my essay. I put it right in the beginning, just one sentence, and that was it. So within this first paragraph, I also explained a little bit more about the physical labor versus mental labor versus education type of context, and how that connects to my family background and the fact that I'm a first-generation college student. So both the hook of my essay and the introduction to the topic of my essay took 146 words, and now we are at the second phase of my essay, or second part of my essay, where I'm talking about the challenge that I will be focusing on for the rest of my essay. So after introducing the topic of it, I explain my reaction to this challenge. I explain how this challenge has affected me, affected my behavior, affected my academic performance, and basically what that challenge meant for me as a student. So in this part of my essay, I focus more on my reaction to the challenge and the impact of the challenge as opposed to the challenge itself, because that I already spoke about on my previous paragraph. And I don't want to repeat myself too much because I want to have more room to talk about other things. So my next paragraph is a single sentence, and this sentence is basically me saying I have set the goal to do this. And I make it very clear, this is literally what I said, I have set the goal to do this. And it just communicates to my reader clearly about what goal I'm talking about and how that goal connects to the challenge that I'm focusing on. For the next paragraph, I focus on the weaknesses and the difficulty that it was for me to overcome this challenge. So basically how the challenge made me feel, how sometimes it made me feel weak, sometimes I wanted to give in, but regardless of those feelings, I was able to stick to my goal that I had mentioned earlier and push myself to overcome this challenge. So this section of my essay really shows the reader how, despite how I felt about it, despite being faced with so many reasons to give up, I decided not to, and I decided to overcome it. And the next paragraph is basically talking about how I overcame it, how I took certain steps to overcome this challenge, and basically what that process looked like for me and what kind of milestones I reached. By showing that I didn't give up, I showed that I have a lot of self-drive and motivation and passion for my goal, and those traits translate into who I am as a person, because that's what the personal statement is. It's you being able to communicate to your reader what kind of person you are and who you are, because you can't necessarily communicate that through other parts of your application that are very numerical, objective, and even in your extracurriculars, it doesn't exactly communicate how passionate you are or what kind of person you are. So I think that the personal statement or the essay writings of any application is a very important part to showing those soft skills and those other traits that you have. So at this point, I'm at 368 words, and remember that the final limit is 650. So the rest of my essay, I'm basically talking about how I overcame it and what success looked like after overcoming this challenge. Not only do I talk about how I overcame this challenge, but I talk about how me overcoming this challenge has reflected other parts of my life and how it goes beyond this one singular challenge and actually represents what kind of mindset I have whenever I'm faced with certain obstacles, and proves that I'm a very resilient person. So I can read another section where it says, when I break this norm that is seen not only in my own family but also in several low-income households, then my academic successes will reach distances farther than what I know. Although this route I chose is unexplored, I am unafraid and I am ready to prevail. So that is not the concluding part of my entire essay, but I basically connected it to how the problem is bigger than myself. It's not just about me, it's not just about this one singular thing, it's about how this connects to everything and the world around me. So when I finished with explaining all of that, I am at 571 words, which leaves me a little bit of space to finalize my thoughts and conclude everything. So in my final paragraph, I wrote, the day that I am practicing the career I have pursued is the day that my mental labor is vindicated. Whereas a diploma to most may only mean the finalization of their studies, mine will mean the start of a new era of learning. I am prepared to break my own back to lay out the concrete of a road that I have not crossed into a future I have not attained. Even so, I am unafraid. So that's basically how I end my essay. I used anaphora during that last part because the ending of the paragraph before that, I end it with I am unafraid, and then my very last phrase of the entire essay is I am unafraid. So I communicate to my reader that I am unafraid. So like I am determined that I didn't let this burden me, I didn't let this stop me, even though it was a really big challenge or really big belief that I had to overcome. I overcame it and I learned from it. And that's what your reader wants to know. They want to know how you developed afterwards, and not necessarily just about the challenge, but how you overcame it, what you learned from it, how you grew from it, and how that challenge has made you a better person. Or maybe not necessarily a better person, but someone who just knows better, and it demonstrates how you approach problems and demonstrates how well of a student you will be. Mine was conveniently related to education, so mine is very direct to what kind of student I am, but several other students have so many different kinds of stories that it doesn't necessarily have to relate to education. It can relate to your family or your friends or your own personal struggles within yourself. There is a whole infographic on our Instagram and on our website, so make sure to check that out. I hope this video was helpful. I know that a lot of students are stressing right now, and I didn't exactly read everything on my essay like word for word, but I did want to focus more on the strategies that I used as opposed to the actual content of my essay. Also, I'm kind of shy, and this essay was super personal to me, so I don't necessarily want to share that with all of YouTube, but maybe one day I will grow the courage to actually share it. But as for this week, I just want you guys to focus more on what kind of methods you're using, what kind of approach you're using for your essays, and please let me know if this was helpful. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at FirstGenFirst, or on Twitter, FirstGen1ST, or send us an email at info@firstgenfirst.org. And before I leave, if you guys need personal help on your essays, FGF does not currently offer individualized mentorship or counseling for essay writing. And I'm so sorry that our team can't help you out with individualized tips, but we are working on creating more digitized suggestions for your essay writing. And I hope to see you guys next week. Bye. So I did include it, but I didn't let it take, but I didn't, we're in, so another section, I wrote the day, okay.